hounded out from her Prime Minister's ship, Sheikh Hasina is in a Bangladesh Air Force aircraft and is likely to land in Delhi very, very shortly. The breaking update that we have right now is that Sheikh Hasina's aircraft is about to start its descent towards India's national capital and will be landing in the next few minutes, we are told, by about 5:15 p.m. at Delhi's Palam Airport. The VIP airport is where the aircraft will be landing. Those are file pictures of a Bangladesh Air Force C-130 Hercules aircraft. It's an American aircraft operated by Bangladesh and carrying Sheikh Hasina, who's been hounded out as Prime Minister of that country. She's likely to land very shortly in Delhi, and after a very brief stopover, which may last less than an hour, she will be heading to London. India is, of course, keeping a very close eye on what's happening in Dhaka, as well as this aircraft that is all set to land in India's capital. The Indian Air Force has kept aircraft on standby, as is standard operating procedure for today's dramatic developments from India's eastern neighbour. Gaurav Sawant is live with me for more on this. Gaurav, unfolding situation likely to shift the focus now to Delhi Airport, where a Bangladesh Air Force C-130 Hercules aircraft carrying the hounded out Prime Minister of Bangladesh will be landing very, very shortly. All preparations on the ground ready now, Gaurav.
Shiv, you're absolutely right. So the aircraft is already in descent mode. It's currently flying at an altitude of close to 24,000 feet is what we are being told. Now, when you look at this, it took off from Bangladesh, flew over Bengal, then Jharkhand, then Bihar, and then Uttar Pradesh. So it's currently flying somewhere over Uttar Pradesh, and very soon, it's descending. So very soon it would land at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in the national capital. It is a Lockheed C-130J Hercules aircraft with a registration of S3AGH. Country of registration is Bangladesh, and the aircraft is AJAX-1431. Now, it is believed that this is the aircraft that's carrying Bangladesh's ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and members of her family and some of her political entourage as it fled Bangladesh moments before a mob descended on her official residence, the Gan Bhavan in Dhaka. So she managed to escape. She's landing in Delhi. But you know what India's policy is, Shiv, and what we are being told, that she will spend some time in the national capital and then flies out to Europe. One information is that she goes to London. There's another bit of information that seems to indicate that she may choose Finland. So either London or Finland, two likely destinations where she could be headed, given India's foreign policy being very clear that India would deal with whoever is in power in whichever country in the neighborhood, and it is for the people of that country to decide who they choose to put in power. India would deal with every leader in the neighborhood. Of course, Sheikh Hasina, a very dear personal friend of India and her party, and India has had excellent interaction with Sheikh Hasina, and Bangladesh and India have had a very great relationship with her in power for over a decade and a half now. But what would this relationship be like now that she's ousted, an interim government comes in place, and who comes in next? Many, many questions, Shiv, that we'll have to wait for answers to.
Stay with me, Gaurav. Rapidly unfolding story. It's a story in motion. Literally, that aircraft will be landing in a very short while in Delhi. I want to quickly recap for our viewers joining our coverage right now of this big breaking international story, the top developments that we're looking at on the implosion and the Bangladesh crisis. Sheikh Hasina has resigned as Prime Minister of Bangladesh. She was seen boarding an army helicopter from Dhaka to go to a safe location. She first flew to the India-Bangladesh border to a place called Kurmil Tola in that chopper, and then boarded the aircraft in which she currently is in. She will be landing in Delhi shortly. The Bangladesh army has said that an interim government will be in place. Sources say that the Bangladesh army chief is meeting all political parties, including the Jamaat in Dhaka, but not significantly the Awami League of Sheikh Hasina, which will have no place in the next government. Celebrations are erupting after Sheikh Hasina's resignation, with protesters taking to the streets of Dhaka, vandalizing her father Mujibur Rahman's statue as well, becoming one of the very, very notable images of a day of violence. Chief of Army Staff General Waqar Azam has called for peace amidst the turmoil. He said that all the murders that have rocked the country will be investigated. Angry protesters are continuing to storm Sheikh Hasina's Dhaka residence and was seen taking a stroll in the garden, going on boat rides, taking pictures, sleeping in one of the beds in the bedroom. It's total turmoil and a total civil unrest at the VIP residence. All wrong, yeah. This is Bangladesh's worst political turmoil in decades. Sheikh Hasina has resigned as the Prime Minister and left the capital Dhaka amidst violent, deadly protests. She and her sister have left the Gana Bhavan. They're about to land in Delhi. Thousands of protesters have stormed the Prime Minister's official residence of Dhaka, running riot at her official residence. These are pictures from inside what is the equivalent of Lok Kalyan Marg, the 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, where Modi lives in Delhi. This is what the equivalent is in Dhaka, and here's what the condition is. Celebrations, arson, looting, rioting, violence, theft. Hasina's move comes amidst violent protests calling for her resignation. The Bangladesh army has said that it will take over the interim government and that talks will be on excluding the Awami League for the new government.
সেনাবাহিনী শান্তি শৃঙ্খলা বজায় রাখার কাজ চালিয়ে যাবে এবং আপনাদের সবার দায়িত্ব, ছাত্রদের দায়িত্ব, রাজনৈতিক নেতৃবৃন্দ এবং আমি সমস্ত রাজনৈতিক দলের নেতৃবৃন্দকে এখানে আমন্ত্রণ করেছিলাম। ওনারা এখানে এসেছেন। আমরা একটা সুন্দর আলোচনা করেছি। সেখানে আমরা সিদ্ধান্ত নিয়েছি যে একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট আমরা ফর্ম করব এবং ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্টের মাধ্যমে এই দেশের সমস্ত কার্যকলাপ চলবে। আমরা এখন মহামান্য রাষ্ট্রপতির কাছে যাব যে এই ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্মের ব্যাপারে ওনার সাথে আলাপ আলোচনা করে আমরা একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্ম করে দেশ পরিচালনা করব। আমি আপনাদের কথা দিচ্ছি, সমস্ত হত্যা, সমস্ত অন্যায়ের বিচার আমরা করব। আপনারা সেনাবাহিনীর প্রতি আস্থা রাখেন, সশস্ত্র বাহিনীর প্রতি আস্থা রাখেন। আমি সমস্ত দায়িত্ব নিচ্ছি। আপনাদের জানমাল এবং আপনাদেরকে আমি কথা দিচ্ছি যে আপনারা আশাহত হবেন না।
And specifically on the violence, the rioting and the vandalism that has taken over the Prime Minister's residence in Dhaka, the most VIP location in Dhaka. Here are the top defining images of what has happened after Sheikh Hasina's exit from Bangladesh. Angry protesters in Dhaka storming the Prime Minister's residence literally minutes after Sheikh Hasina fled the country. The mob has vandalized many parts of the residence and was seen going room to room, stealing items, utensils, etc. The mob has looted the Prime Minister's belongings. A woman was seen carrying bundles of saris from the house. A man was also seen laying on the ex-Prime Minister's bed, showing a victory sign. Protesters who barged into Hasina's residence were seen boating through the ponds inside the property. A man was also seen carrying with him a whole fish, looted no doubt from inside the kitchens of the Prime Minister's residence. A huge mob also vandalized the dining hall inside the Prime Minister's residence. A man recorded a video of himself stuffing his face with chicken biryani along with other protesters. A group of protesters raided Hasina's office, Sheikh Hasina's office. They were seen going through papers, stealing documents, ransacking the entire office as well. Remember that Sheikh Hasina's aircraft, that C-130J, will be landing in Delhi in just a few minutes from now. So we're going to be standing by with our reporters outside the airport to get you those live pictures in just a bit. While we wait for that, I want to bring in India Today's Indrajit Kundu as well, who's tracking this unfolding story from Kolkata. Indrajit, now it's clear that Sheikh Hasina will be landing in Delhi. Earlier, there had been speculation that she might be landing, in Kolkata or even possibly in Agartala in Tripura, but she will be landing in Delhi. But the pictures unfolding in Dhaka are disturbing to say the least. A total civil meltdown and a total takeover of Sheikh Hasina's prime ministerial residence in Dhaka at this point, Indrajit.
Well, Shiv, unprecedented images emerging out of Dhaka. All of us who are here across the border in West Bengal and have been following the politics of Bangladesh, this is something which is clearly unbelievable, unprecedented visuals, unprecedented scenes. We have been talking to a lot of people over the phone in Bangladesh right now. The situation is very, very chaotic. Bangladesh, in a sense, has now plunged into chaos. There is no governance. Nobody knows who is in charge. The army, of course, the army chief came out and appealed for peace. The army is on the streets of Dhaka, but an interim government will have to be formed. The army chief has announced that. Till such time that is formed, this time gap between the formation and the announcement of an interim government, whoever that may be, and the army chief's press conference, a lot of chaos is unfolding. We are continuously getting reports of arson, of museum, of being put into fire. There is a retribution. There has been this sense that the opposition space was completely, shunted out. So those opposition workers, especially from BNP, Tariq Rahman, Khaleda Zia's eldest son, who is an opposition politician in exile, he is the head of BNP right now. He has just, posted on social media handle X. The Jamaat-e-Islami and the Islami Chhatra Shibir, which has been banned last week, their operators are out on the streets. There is a sense of retribution. There is a sense of fear amongst, Awami League. Awami League activists at this point in time. So the army will have to clearly put things in order. And you heard the army chief say that, given the situation on the ground, he has appealed to the people to not take law into their own hands. But what we have seen, that image, that iconic image, it's going to be there forever. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founder of Bangladesh, the father of Bangladesh, his image being vandalized by some people who were among the protesters. Many are asking the question on social media right now, are these the students who are actually leading this protest? Because it was about the quota movement. But the Bangladesh administration, the Awami League government have been continuously stating that the protests have been hijacked by other
The interesting part is,
elements.
stay with me, I'll bring Gaurav also in. The army chief of Bangladesh, actually sent out a message saying he appeals for peace, he appeals for calm. It doesn't look like his words are being, accepted by the mobs, because the crowds are actually increasing on the streets of Dhaka. The home of the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, has been ransacked practically, on camera. People are actually filming this kind of civil unrest at the Prime Minister's residence in Dhaka. It doesn't look like the violence is going to ebb for the next few days, Gaurav. There's a real security situation brewing in Dhaka right now.
Shiv, you and I have reported this in Sri Lanka. You and I are now reporting this in Bangladesh. And in Bangladesh, it remains a cause for grave concern. In Sri Lanka, ultimately, the army was able to control the situation after President Rajapaksa left the country. But here, even after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina leaving the country, the situation does remain grim, and the retribution is a cause for grave concern. We are told that already 6 members of a party have been killed. There are reports of lynching and attempted lynching from an anti-quota or a quota movement, if I may. So from a quota movement to violence on the streets, to targeting of Hindus in some area, to targeting of minorities. All of this does indicate that the situation has fast gone out of control, and the quota issue was anyway addressed by the judiciary in Bangladesh. But the fact that Sheikh Hasina ended up using words like Razakars for the protesters, for students and Others joined the street, a protest that was initially restricted to some parts of Bangladesh. Then all over Bangladesh, people started coming out on the streets and then marching towards Dhaka. That the army also realized that it wouldn't be able to contain the situation. And to contain the situation, the only alternative was for Sheikh Hasina to leave the country. Does indicate that the next 24 to 48 hours, if not more, could be extremely tense for Bangladesh.
It's going to be very, very tense. It's a story that is still continuing to play out in a very volatile manner. Also welcoming onto our coverage Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former Chief of the Integrated Defence Staff of the country. He's in his capacity also looked at regional issues as well. General Dua, welcome. Apologies for coming to you late. We had a lot of breaking news coming in. Quickly wanted to get your assessment of this situation right now, sir. Sheikh Hasina, who's been literally hounded out from Bangladesh, is expected to land in Delhi in literally the next few minutes. How do you see all of this playing out, sir? There is a total implosion going on in Dhaka as we speak.
The developments in the past few hours have been very grave. It's heartbreaking to see Mujibur Rahman's statue being vandalized this way. The mobs breaking into the house of the Prime Minister remind you of what happened in Sri Lanka some time ago. The way the statue is being vandalized brings takes your mind to Iraq. What is happening here is a very violent protest, which seems not. Even the army does not seem to be confident of controlling it at the moment, at least. So, like someone else just said on your on this report, that next couple of days are going to be very crucial. But I think what I would like to point out beyond all this is beyond the developments that are going on is that there are major concerns for India. There are already reports about violence against minorities. We have 13 million Hindus, if I'm not wrong, the figure in Bangladesh. We also have to see Jamaat-e-Islami is coming out in full force, and it's going to be part of the polity as it appears. So there are those concerns that will have very long-term effects on India, and I think we will have to clearly define our policy and what actions we want to take in terms diplomatically, politically, and all other which wise. I think there are reasons for Indian government and all Indians to watch the developments with great concern.
Speaking about from a security perspective, General, India has a large border with Bangladesh.
Yes.
Do you see any kind of a emerging security situation? We do know that the border security force has sounded a red alert on the West Bengal Bangladesh border as well. Overall, security-wise, do you see any kind of a emerging situation there, sir?
As far as security on the border is concerned, our border security force is capable of defending the sovereignty of our borders. So that I would like to reassure everyone. Border security, the sovereignty of borders is not really a concern.
Yes.
What can actually happen is if the next regime or the next dispensation is not friendly towards India, we could slip back to those years where we had several terrorist organizations that were based on the border areas of Bangladesh, and they were operating in our northeastern states. Now, Manipur is already on the boil. Though I know Manipur does not share a border with the Bangladesh per se, but what I'm trying to say, the northeast by itself, there could be a fillip in the terror groups. So to sum it up, last sentence, I don't think we have concerns, and I'm sure BSF will beef up the security. I don't think our borders face a threat from Bangladesh as of now. But the situation with the terrorist groups could see a change.
Very, very important point. Northeast at large, terrorists who have taken refuge in those border areas, they could actually get a fillip as a result of this unrest in Bangladesh. Gaurav, picking up on a very important point that General Dua just mentioned, which you'd also picked up on, which is the minority Hindu population in Bangladesh, which has for a long time been persecuted anyway. The formation of a new, probably more radical element sort of government in Bangladesh means that there is a real threat to the minority in Bangladesh at this point of time, and that makes it a direct concern for India.
It indeed does, Shiv. In fact, Hindus in Bangladesh have constantly been on target, even when someone as friendly as Sheikh Hasina and someone as strong at that point of time as Sheikh Hasina was in power. But then Hindus were repeatedly targeted. The Jamaat-e-Islami was increasingly spreading its tentacles in areas and targeting Hindus, targeting their places of worship, targeting women. And India had repeatedly raised this with Bangladesh. But now, in case there is a hostile establishment that takes control of Bangladesh, because the meeting that the current army chief, General Waqar Zaman, is having is with all political parties barring the Awami League. So it remains to be seen, who comes to power, what role would organizations like the Jamaat play, what role will Begum Khalida Zia's party and her son and the other leaders play, because that is where Pakistan's ISI becomes much stronger in Bangladesh, because Sheikh Hasina to a very large extent had actually checkmated or had checked the growth of Pakistan's ISI, sent back some officials, sent back some others, but now they would once again return. So, yes, the situation could become troublesome for India's border states, infiltration-wise, terrorism-wise, and for Hindus in Bangladesh. It could be a very, very tough road ahead.
I just want to play out for our viewers, and then I'll get General Dua back in on this. I want to play out what the army chief in Bangladesh said in his address to the nation. I just want to play out a key excerpt of that soundbite where he talks about the formation of an interim government in Bangladesh, which is the immediate next step in a country that is in total crisis mode right now. Listen into what he said.
আমি সমস্ত রাজনৈতিক দলের নেতৃবৃন্দকে এখানে আমন্ত্রণ করেছিলাম। ওনারা এখানে এসেছেন, আমরা একটা সুন্দর আলোচনা করেছি। সেখানে আমরা সিদ্ধান্ত নিয়েছি যে একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট আমরা ফর্ম করব এবং ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্টের মাধ্যমে এদেশের সমস্ত কার্যকলাপ চলবে। আমরা এখন মহামান্য রাষ্ট্রপতির কাছে যাব, যে এই ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্মের ব্যাপারে ওনার সাথে আলাপ আলোচনা করে আমরা একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্ম করে দেশ পরিচালনা করব। আমি আপনাদের কথা দিচ্ছি, সমস্ত হত্যা, সমস্ত অন্যায়ের বিচার আমরা করব। আপনারা সেনাবাহিনীর প্রতি আস্থা রাখেন, সশস্ত্র বাহিনীর প্রতি আস্থা রাখেন। আমি সমস্ত দায়িত্ব নিচ্ছি, আপনাদের জানমাল, এবং আপনাদেরকে আমি কথা দিচ্ছি যে আপনারা আশাহত হবেন না।
General Dua, you heard what the Bangladesh army chief said. He's talking about meeting with the opposition parties, forming, an interim government in Bangladesh. Now, this is a country that is no stranger to martial rule in the past, General Dua. Do you see that continuing now? Do you see that the army is going to play a big role in whatever dispensation comes in next in Bangladesh?
One cannot categorically say that army would come to power because the way the situation is, the army is also finding it difficult to control that. I mean, I think the next few hours, in today's day itself, we will know whether army is able to control the situation or not. What happens is that since the army chief is making efforts to, and he's openly announcing it, that other than Awami League, all the parties are getting together and they're trying to sit and form an interim government. I would feel that the army chief may not want to assume power at the moment, at least, because this is not the right time to do it. However, just like Pakistan, in Bangladesh, like you started off this question by asking, by saying that army is no stranger to power in Bangladesh. So I think army will remain in a preeminent position, even if it does not form the government right away. And then developments will unfold themselves.
Okay, so we'll have to see what an interim government is and where it actually leads. Indrajit Kundu is fronting our coverage from Kolkata. Remember, Kolkata has also been part of our coverage because initially it was speculated that the aircraft carrying Sheikh Hasina might actually land in the state capital of West Bengal. Indro, you're in the state that has a big border with Bangladesh. In Delhi, at the center, there are all kinds of meetings taking place in anticipation of the landing of Sheikh Hasina in Delhi very, very shortly. What's happening with the Mamta government? What are you hearing from within the Bengal government over these developments? Because there will be a fallout there as well.
Well, absolutely. Direct fallout of what's happening in Bangladesh. There will be repercussions here in West Bengal, especially across the very porous Indo-Bangladesh border, across West Bengal and other states like Tripura and Meghalaya as well. Especially in West Bengal, the BSF has been put on alert. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee has just given a statement at the State Assembly. She has appealed for calm. She has asked that everybody should exercise restraint, caution. She has asked all political parties, political leaders cutting across the political divide not to post anything, not to say anything that would only give rise to some sort of a communal flare-up on this part of the border here in West Bengal. As you just suggested, that there are a lot of repercussions what's happening on the other side in this part of India. She said that this is an issue that has to be dealt with by the government of India, and it's between the government of Bangladesh and government of India, and she respects that, and she will take all necessary steps according to the instructions and directions from the government of India. So a very measured, calibrated statement coming in from West Bengal Chief Minister, because Shiv, you would remember just on 21st of July, a few days back, when Mamta Banerjee was addressing a party rally, she did speak out on the situation in Bangladesh. That had triggered a diplomatic row between the Bangladesh government and the Indian government, with the Bangladesh government registering a formal complaint against Mamta Banerjee's statement. This time it's very calibrated. She hasn't gone on record saying much. She said that she's waiting for the directions of the government of India to take further steps, and she has appealed for peace and calm on this part of the country.
Okay, so the impact on West Bengal cannot be ignored. Larger issues of national security obviously also cannot be ignored, though a reassuring word there from General Satish Dua about sovereignty and integrity issues will be taken care of by the army and the border security force. So that's not an immediate concern, but the porous border between Bangladesh and India will have to be watched very, very closely. I want to quickly update our viewers. I'll get a reporter from the outside near the Delhi airport also very shortly. The aircraft carrying Sheikh Hasina will be landing in just a few minutes from now in the national capital. A C-130 aircraft of the Bangladesh Air Force carrying Sheikh Hasina is about to land in the national capital of India. Remember that this takes a great deal of political significance and diplomatic significance, because Sheikh Hasina is not only a friend of India, but has been targeted within Bangladesh as being an India agent. So very interestingly, and I'll put pictures of that aircraft on your screen in just a moment, Sheikh Hasina has decided not to stay on in India. She'll be landing here. It's a refueling stop. We don't know who she will be meeting, but it stands to reason that there must be some kind of interaction on the ground once she lands, and then she will be taking a flight possibly to London, is what we are given to understand at this point of time. The Indian government obviously not revealing very much right now officially. The only thing we can confirm is that the security agencies are all on high alert. Indian aircraft have been kept on standby for any emergent situation. The Indian diplomatic machinery is also in high gear. Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister, is monitoring all of these developments very, very closely. This is literally playing out in real time. An aircraft carrying the hounded out Prime Minister of India's neighbor Bangladesh is about to land. She was practically chased out of Bangladesh, and she is about to land in the national capital. Well, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee has just spoken out. She's issued a statement on the implosion in Bangladesh and has appealed for peace. She said the government of India will decide on how to approach this issue, and has appealed to leaders of all political parties to refrain from making provocative comments that may disrupt peace in Bengal or the country. Mamata Banerjee has also said some BJP leaders have already commented on it. It should not be done. So the politics has already begun over the crisis in Bangladesh. That's the latest that we're getting to you right now. Remember, Sheikh Hasina in an aircraft very much like the one you see in these pictures, the C-130J of the Bangladesh Air Force, will be landing very, very shortly in the national capital. Who's going to meet Sheikh Hasina? How long she will be here remains a mystery. We don't know just yet. We'll get you those live updates as soon as she touches down in the national capital. Gaurav, any light you can throw on both those questions? How long Sheikh Hasina will be in Delhi, and if she's going to be meeting anyone while she's here?
Shiv, not as yet, because there is no official comment coming from either the government or even sources at this point of time are keeping their cards very close to their chest. They will perhaps understand whoever is her interlocutor, because remember, she is a head of state or a former head of government. So when she comes in, there would be an interaction at Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport, the Palam technical area as a military aircraft comes in, and then how long she stays here remains to be seen. But from what bits of information we've been able to pick out is she will not be staying in India for long. Perhaps then catch a connecting flight whenever that is, and move on to Europe. Like you and I were discussing, Shiv, India would want to be at least seen to be impartial at this stage, given the emotions that are running very high in Bangladesh, given the fact that Bangladesh wasn't safe for Sheikh Hasina and then she had to flee. India would want to ensure that the situation does not spiral out of control, or that India is looked at as an impartial neighbor in this condition. Despite the close proximity with Sheikh Hasina and her government, India's foreign policy constantly has been whichever is the government in power in our neighboring countries, be it Maldives or Sri Lanka or Nepal or Bangladesh or other countries around, India interacts with the government in power and leaves it to the people in that country to decide who they would want to lead them. Once that decision is taken by the people in those countries, Government of India then establishes contact with them at an official level, though diplomats constantly stay in touch and political leaders always stay in touch, whether it's the government in power or the opposition. So now, as far as India is concerned, it's a wait and watch policy, but it was very important to ensure that Sheikh Hasina is not in harm's way, and she was out of harm's way and in India as early as possible, because her security and her well-being was under threat in Bangladesh.
Gaurav, stay with me. The aircraft carrying Sheikh Hasina is set to land at Delhi's Palam airport very, very shortly. Ashutosh Mishra is at the Palam VIP airport in Delhi, where the aircraft is set to touch down shortly. Ashu, what's the update? How long before touchdown?
What it could take, Shiv, nearly around 45 minutes. But the question is whether Sheikh Hasina gonna come out, stay in India, or the further, as there are reports that she is likely to fly further out to London. In that case, whether the protocol, as per protocol, whether the immigration process is required, either is it going to be the same Hercules plane C-130 that will be escorting her to London, or she gonna take commercial flight? I mean, even in fact touch with some civilian airlines, and so far there is no booking in the name of Sheikh Hasina and her sister, whether it is Air India, whether it is British Airways or some other airlines. So far we'll have to see what steps she's going to take further. But for now, remember that Palam technical area, there are also arrangements for the immigration just in case Sheikh Hasina decides to step out, take some time in India, spend some time in India, or even issue a statement. Remember, she was about to issue a statement before leaving Dhaka, but that was in a haste when army said that you have barely 3 hours to leave the country. So clearly, what she's gonna do next, no one knows. As per reports, she is about to fly to London, and accordingly, all the arrangements will be made as she desires, and probably her team would have made. But for now, all eyes here at the Palam airport. Of course, all the arrangements that are being done by administratively by the security agencies, we may not get to know. But very interestingly, the flight that were being tracked from Dhaka, from Bangladesh all the way to Delhi, right after Lucknow, all of a sudden on the the commercial radar scanner, all of a sudden it just disappeared. But very interestingly, Shiv, besides this flight routine, what I see exactly deja vu. Just 2 years back, what I saw exactly in Sri Lanka. It was the month of August, similar almost chaos on the street, and then we had seen one Prime Minister resigning, and then he was also forced to leave Sri Lanka. Just 2 years later, exactly the month of August, again what we see, what is happening in another neighborhood, which is Bangladesh. Shiv.
Ashu, one more quick question. Is there any movement from the Indian government side? Is anyone going to be meeting the ex-Bangladesh Prime Minister at the Palam technical area? Do we know that?
Well, in that case, Shiv, if there are, protocol arrangements need to be made, then probably it could be happening from the VIP Terminal 3 area. But for now, I haven't seen any such movement happening because now she is no more a Prime Minister. Now, whether in what capacity the government or the leadership or even the authorities as per protocol will be meeting, that is yet to be known. But for now, right outside to here, at least in last 1 hour, I haven't seen any such movement, which probably indicates that there will be some official meeting. However, since this is being a defense side of the technical Air Force station, if these arrangements are also being made, could be made confidential.
Okay, stay with me, Ashu. Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, who's been hounded out of her country under literally fear of physical harm, is someone who's been painted by her enemies in Bangladesh as an India agent. The truth is, she's been a very, very good friend of India. Her father, Mujibur Rahman, was the founder and liberator of Bangladesh after the 1971 war. But who is Sheikh Hasina and why has she been chased out of her country, a democratically elected Prime Minister? Take a look.
Bangladesh's 5-time Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fleeing from her homeland, forced to leave and violent protest in her country. Sheikh Hasina has faced massive protest over the controversial quota system that has snowballed into a Quit Hasina movement. Hasina has now resigned and fled from Dhaka, an abrupt and controversial end to her rule in Bangladesh. The 76-year-old first became Prime Minister in 1996 and served for a term till 2001. She was re-elected to office in 2009, serving 5 terms overall. Back in 1996, as the Awami League leader, Hasina led a coalition government since they fell 5 seats short of a majority. But after 2001, when she lost the election, she faced turbulent times, even being banned in 2007 from entering Bangladesh amid a state of emergency. She defied the ban and touched down in Dhaka from UK to be immediately arrested. The support for Hasina was enormous by now, and in 2009, she was sworn in again as Prime Minister, ending 2 years of rule by an army-backed interim government. Her third term as Prime Minister was controversial as Hasina was accused of winning a not-so-fair election in 2013. Hasina's party rolled into victory in an election that was boycotted by the main opposition party and was marred by deadly unrest. It was in her third term that Hasina garnered international praise for sheltering Rohingya refugees from Myanmar.
We want that they should put more pressure to Myanmar government so that they take them back.
In 2019, Prime Minister Hasina returned to power when her Awami League won 288 of the 300 parliamentary seats. But again, an election that faced endless scrutiny for not providing a level playing ground for the opposition. And earlier this year, Hasina returned for her 4th consecutive term, her 5th term overall as Prime Minister of Bangladesh that has now come to an end abruptly. Hasina chose to so far call the protest as motivated, but now has been forced to bow down to their demands.
যেদিন ছাত্ররা এই অগ্নিসন্ত্রাস যখন শুরু হলো, জ্বালাও পোড়া শুরু হলো,
when arson terrorism started, the protesting students said they were not involved in it. And we condemn it. We do not want it. When they pulled off from the protest, I deployed the army only then. I did not do it before that. Many want to tell me about deploying the army against the students. I was involved in student politics starting from Dhaka University. I know what the army could do.
ঢাকা ইউনিভার্সিটি থেকে শুরু করে
In the past 15 years, Hasina has been credited with turning around Bangladesh's economy while winning international praise for sheltering Rohingya Muslims and turning around India-Bangladesh ties. But for now, it looks like it's the end of the road for the five-time Prime Minister. Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, breaking news coming in. Sheikh Hasina, the outgoing Prime Minister of Bangladesh, has just landed at the Hindon Air Force Station on the outskirts of Delhi. The Hindon Air Force Station is an airbase in Uttar Pradesh in the Ghaziabad suburbs of India's national capital. So this is very close to Delhi. Senior IAF officials have received Sheikh Hasina, who has landed at the Hindon Airbase on Delhi's outskirts in Ghaziabad. Senior Indian Air Force officials have received her. The Hindon Airbase is where the Indian Air Force has squadrons of C-17 and C-130 aircraft, and it is in a C-130 aircraft that Sheikh Hasina has landed at the Hindon Airbase. We are going to get a visual on this very, very shortly. Gaurav with more. Gaurav, it was expected that she would land in Delhi, but Sheikh Hasina in her C-130, not surprisingly, has landed at the Hindon Air Force Station, which is an Indian Air Force base, and she's just been received there by Indian Air Force officials, Gaurav.
Shiv, this is a very interesting development, and we still have to wait and understand, what government's official thinking on this is, that it hasn't landed at Palam Technical Airport, where, usually heads of state and governments land, but then that is when they're on an official visit and not running to save their lives in their respective countries. And she'd already resigned, so she isn't technically, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. She's former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, having put in her papers, having fled to that helipad, taken that chopper to a military airbase, taken a military flight, and then landed, we are told now, at Hindon Airbase, where the Hindon base commander and other officers have received her, which would well indicate that perhaps she would be refueled, her aircraft would be refueled, whether that aircraft heads back to Dhaka, and whether then she takes a flight whether she goes to the international airport, takes a commercial flight, or takes a private jet to another country. Because what sources in the government very categorically told us is that she will not be staying in India. She was fleeing for her life. She was fleeing to safety, where moments after she left her country, there was a mob that entered her residence, and now she's come to India, and it's India's responsibility to give her refuel, help, whatever help required. Then she goes to a final destination. Whether that destination is England or Finland remains to be seen. Whether it's a commercial flight or a private jet, that information not yet in public domain. We should hopefully know shortly from now. But Hindon, as you very rightly pointed out, is an Indian Air Force base which has both the C-17s, long-haul heavy-lift transport aircraft, and the C-130J Hercules aircraft of the Indian Air Force, the tactical transport aircraft of the Indian Air Force, and also aircraft that are used by our special forces. So if that aircraft requires fuel, if that requires any other assistance, perhaps Hindon is the best place for it. But for her, she's not the head of state or government. So she's been given, she would be received there, received by officials, and what happens next, we shall know shortly. But interesting that it's not Palam Technical Area in Delhi, and that it's Hindon Airbase.
Excellent context given by Gaurav there, because Sheikh Hasina is no longer the sitting Prime Minister of Bangladesh. She is literally a former Prime Minister who's been chased out of her country, and even though she is a friend of India, she hasn't landed at the expected Delhi VIP Palam technical area for foreign dignitaries, but has landed at the Hindon Airbase, which is on the outskirts of Delhi. It technically falls in Uttar Pradesh. Shivani Sharma, our defense correspondent, is live with us as well. She, as you can see, is en route to the Hindon base. What are you hearing from Hindon, Shivani? The base commander and other Air Force officials are said to have received Sheikh Hasina at Hindon.
See, Shiv and Gaurav, while Sheikh Hasina has just landed at Hindon Airport, there were already arrangements. That's what the sources have been telling us. See, nothing is official now because of the situation and the diplomatic stand by India. But what we have been told by our sources, that Sheikh Hasina has landed at Hindon Airbase at 5:36 p.m. Her aircraft C-130J Super Hercules was given a priority landing in spite of the traffic at this airbase. And the officials were already present there, the CNC and the other officials of the airbase, the senior officials of the airbase of the Indian Air Force were already present there to see whether everything goes as per plan. But the only thing is, Shiv and Gaurav, that nothing has been confirmed officially due to the nature of this escape that Sheikh Hasina has been given. Because what we have also learned from the sources that the Bangladesh Air Force's Mi-17 chopper that rescued her, in fact, from her place, and it left her at Indian border from where she took C-130J. And this C-130J Super Hercules is it has already landed here at Hindon Airbase. We are heading there. We are trying for pictures if we get lucky to get them pictures, because it's a sensitive route that Sheikh Hasina has taken, and nothing has been confirmed. But the sources have also told us that she will not be staying in India for long. She might take a flight to London. She can go to Finland. All depends on how it has been planned by Sheikh Hasina and her journey, and all is there in a likelihood speculation because nothing has been confirmed. But what the sources have told us that Sheikh Hasina has already landed at Hindon, Ghaziabad, and Hindon all the more because it was a safer place. If we talk about Palam, there were some international flights that were already there at Palam because of the exercise that has to begin tomorrow in India, Tarang Shakti, the biggest ever multinational exercise of the Indian Air Force. So Sheikh Hasina chose to land here at Hindon. It was a safer place for her to land, and she has been well received by the officials here. And now we have to see where she heads to, which is the place, whether she'll be staying here for a night or whether she'll start her journey abroad. We have to wait for.
This is actually really interesting. Shivani, stay with me. I want to bring Gaurav in on this as well. Gaurav, like you said, the choice of Hindon for this landing is super interesting because it also raises the question over whether Sheikh Hasina plans to stay on in the national capital for a while or depart instantly. And if she chooses to depart instantly, what aircraft is she going to take? Because Hindon is an Air Force base. There are no civil aircrafts operating there. I don't think the C-130 that she is in is going to ferry her to London from Hindon. So that's also an unanswered question now.
As of now, it certainly is, Shiv, perhaps a private jet, in case she's taking a private jet, may get permission to land at Hindon and ferry her there. Hindon, of course, has excellent facilities for her to rest and relax for some time. Of course, after fleeing her country and the circumstances in which she fled her country, I'm not sure how much time is she spending in India or who she expects to interact with in India, and whether there are officials who may have gone to Hindon to interact with her. So we still do not know answers to some of these questions. By and by, information will filter in for us to form a bigger picture and a better picture of what's happening. But the fact that she's at Hindon is a message that goes out from India, that she's the Prime Minister who was in distress, who fled her country to save her life. She's been given shelter in India for now. Her aircraft refuels, whether that aircraft goes back to Dhaka or flies her to another location, because you're absolutely right, for a Bangladesh military aircraft to fly over multiple countries to get her to UK. As you well know, military aircraft require a whole lot of different set of clearances, especially when there's a former head of state in those aircraft. So we do not know answers to some of those questions at this stage. But remains to be seen. She's out of harm's way as of now. How long she stays in India, who she interacts with India are questions we are seeking answers to, and whether she goes to UK or Finland immediately on board a private jet or goes someplace else and then takes a jet to UK. These are questions we hope to have answers to in the next several hours, Shiv.
Gaurav and Shivani, continue to stay with me. Our coverage continues. I'm going to take a very short break. On the other side, I guarantee we're going to have the first pictures from the Hindon base of Sheikh Hasina's arrival. The Hindon base is an Air Force station right on the outskirts of Delhi in Uttar Pradesh, and that is where she has landed. This is the latest twist in the exit of Sheikh Hasina from an imploding Bangladesh.